words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, everyone who is turned to the Divine Mother is doing my integral yoga. It is a great mistake to suppose that one can do the Purna Yoga, that is, carry out and fulfill all the sides of the yoga by one's own effort. No human being can do that. What one has to do is to put oneself in the Mother's hand and open oneself to her by service, by bhakti, by aspiration. Then the Divine Mother, by her light and force, works in him so that the sadhana is done. It is a mistake also to have the ambition to be a big Purna Yogi or a supramental being and ask oneself how far I have got there towards that. The right attitude is to be devoted, given to the Divine Mother, and to wish to be whatever she wants you to be. The rest is for the Divine Mother to decide and do in you. With my love and blessings, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo.
The mistakes recognized may never be renewed. Grant lastly that his actions may be the exact and sincere expressions of his proclaimed ideals. Seigneur, le monde t'implore pour que tu empêches de retomber dans les mêmes stupidités. Permets que l'erreur reconnue ne soit jamais renouvelée. Permets enfin que les actions soient l'expression sincère et exacte de l'idéal proclamé.
सर्वभूतस्थमात्मानं सर्वभूतानि चात्मनि ईक्षते योगयुक्तात्मा सर्वत्र समदर्शनः यो मां पश्यति सर्वत्र सर्वं च मयि पश्यति तस्याहं न प्रणश्यामि स च मे न प्रणश्यति ॐ शक्तिः शुम्भनिशुम्भदैत्यदलनी या सिद्धिलक्ष्मीश्वरा या देवी नवकोटिमूर्तिसहिता मां पातु विश्वेश्वरी द्युम्नेतपाद्यं शिवराय श्रीमीराय नमः।
Words of our Divine Mother, taken from the compilations of our Divine Mother, the comments of our Divine Mother on our Lord Sri Aurobindo's book, The Mother of 1951, page 52. The child says, Sweet Mother, Sri Aurobindo speaks of the will to open and make plastic the physical consciousness and nature. For this, our Divine Mother says, because the physical consciousness and nature are closed up and rigid, they are shut up in their habits. They don't want to change them. They accept only one regular routine. There is nothing more routine bound than the body. If you can change its habits in the least, it is quite beleaguered. It doesn't know any longer what to do. It says, excuse me, but that's not how one goes about living. Those whose vital being is very active and dominating may succeed in awakening the body, and if they have the spirit of adventure, which happens very often, for the vital is an adventurous being, then the physical obeys. It obeys the impulse, the inner order, then it consents to the change, the novelty, but it is an effort for it. But for the physical being and the physical consciousness to be ready to receive the divine impulsion, they must be extremely plastic. They must be extremely plastic because the vital uses coercion, it imposes its will, and the poor body has but to obey, while the divine just shows the light, gives the consciousness, and so one must obey consciously and willingly. It is a question of collaboration. Our Divine Mother says it is no longer a question of coercion. The physical being and the physical consciousness must be very plastic to be able to lend themselves to all the necessary changes so as to be of one kind one day and another and the next and so on. Next, page 55. The divine is behind all action, but he is wheeled by his Yoga Maya, Sweet Mother. For this, our Divine Mother says, yes, he is wheeled by the consciousness of material nature. There is the consciousness in its origin which does not wheel the divine but expresses him. There is the consciousness in its form which wheels him. Some say it is wheeled, it is to allow the game to be played, that the divine hides himself behind material nature to compel all conscious beings to find him. That is an opinion. People say many things. One of the greatest difficulties for most philosophies is that they have not recognized or studied the different planes of existence, the different regions of the being. They have the supreme and then the creation, and then that's all, nothing between the two. This makes the explanation very difficult. All explanation in the last analysis are just simple languages used to understand things easier, which makes it actually very difficult. And some of these theories make the understandings unrecognizable, and study becomes aware of different intermediary states between the material nature and the supreme origin. If you recognize the study and become aware of the different intermediary states and become aware of the different intermediary states between the most material nature and the supreme origin. If you recognize and become conscious of all the intermediary regions, of all the inner states of the being and all the outer regions, that can explain many problems. Our Divine Mother says we have already studied this in connection with determinism. If you say that the determinism is absolute and remain there, you understand nothing. It is quite obvious that all the events of life give you the lie, or else the problem is so complicated that you can't get hold of it. But if you understand that there are a large number of determinisms acting upon each other, interpenetrating, changing the action of one, determining the action of the other, then the problem becomes comprehensive. This is the same thing for explaining the action of the divine in the universe. If you have a central creative force or a central creative consciousness or a central immobile witness, then the universe only that and nothing else between the two you cannot understand. They have made a creator God and then his creatures. So all the problems come up. He has made the world with what? It is from the dust, but what is it? This dust, what is it doing here? What was it doing before it was used to be a world? From nothing? A universe was created of nothing? That is foolish, it is awkward. You are told that he did this consciously, deliberately, and when he finished, they exclaim, "Look, it's very good." Then those who are in the universe reply, "We don't find it so good. It is perhaps very good for you, but not for us." These are the naive conceptions. They are ignorant, and all these explanations are not admissible. That is why you are told, don't try to understand, but that is laziness. Question: does surrender consist in offering one's work like a good does not surrender consist in offering one's work like a good servant? For this our divine mother says, work is a good discipline, but it is not this idea. It is not the idea of a passive, unconscious, almost involuntary submission. It does not lie only to work. The most important surrender is the surrender of your character, your way of being, so that it may change. If you do not surrender your very nature, never will this nature change. It is this that is important. You have certain ways of feeling, certain ways of progressing, above all, a special way of looking at life, expecting from it certain things. Well, it is this you must surrender. That is, if you truly want to receive the divine light, if you truly want to receive the divine light and transform yourself, it is your whole being or your whole way of being you must offer. Offer by opening it, making it as receptive as possible so that the divine consciousness, which sees how you ought to be, may act directly and change all these moments into moments more true, more in keeping with your real truth. This is infinitely more important than surrendering what one does. It is not what one does. What one does is very important, and that's evident. That is the most important thing, but what one is, whatever the activity, it is not quite the way of doing it, but the state of consciousness in which it is done. That is important. You may work, do disinterested work without any idea of personal profit, work for the joy of working, but if you are not at the same time ready to leave this work to change the work or change the way of working, if you cling to your own way of working, your surrender is not complete. You must come to a point when everything is done because you feel within very clearly in a more and more imperious way that it is this which must be done and in this particular way, and that you do it because of that. You do not do it because of any habit, attachment, or preference, nor any conception, even a preference for the idea it is the best thing to do. Else, your surrender is not total. Our Divine Mother says, as long as you cling to something, as long as there is something in you which says this may change, that may change about anything at all, but that will not change. As long as you say about anything at all, that will not change because you can't think it's changing. Your surrender is not complete. It goes without saying, if your action, your work, you have in the least this feeling, I am doing it because I have been told to do it, and there is no total adherence of the being. You do not do the work because you feel it has to be done, you love doing it. If something holds you back, stands apart, I was told to do, I have done that, so I did like that, it means there's a great gulf between you and the surrender. True surrender is to feel that one wants, one has this complete inner adherence. You cannot do but that which you have been given to do, and what you have not been given to do, you cannot do. But at another moment, the work may change. At any moment, it may be something else. It is decided that it be something else. It is there that the plasticity comes in. It is where that plasticity comes in. That makes a great difference. It is very well understood that those who work are told, yes, work. That is a way of surrendering, but it is a beginning. This way has to be progressive. It is only a beginning. Do you understand? Says our Divine Mother, dated 28th April 1951. Next, from page 90, question, Sweet Mother. It sometimes happens that when one is playing, one does not remember the divine, then suddenly one remembers and has the feeling that something breaks and no longer plays well. Why is it so? For this, our Divine Mother says, because everything is upset. That's a problem. So, you think that when you are playing and do not remember, you play well. No, it is not quite that. It is that you do something with a certain concentration, work or play, you are concentrated. But you are not developing the habit of mixing the remembrance of the divine with the concentration, which is not difficult, but anyway, you do not have that habit. Then suddenly the remembrance comes, then two things happen. Either the concentration is broken because make an abrupt movement you make an abrupt movement to seize the new attitude entering the consciousness, or you feel a little remorse, regret, disquiet. Oh, I did not remember the divine. That suffices. It upsets all that you've done, for you change conditions completely. It is not the fact of remembering which makes you no longer play well, it is the fact of having been disturbed your concentration. If you could remember without disturbing the concentration, which is not difficult, you would not only play well, but you would play better. And then you may also take another attitude. When you are playing and suddenly become aware that something is going wrong, you're making mistakes, are inattentive, something opposing currents may come across of what you're doing. If you develop the habit automatically at this point of calling as by a mantra, of repeating a word, that has an extraordinary effect. You have to say a mantra. You choose your mantra, or rather, one day it comes to you spontaneously in a moment of difficulty. At a time when things are very difficult, when you have a sort of anguish, anxiety, when you don't know what is going to happen, suddenly this springs up in you. The whole world springs up in front of you. For each one, it may be different, but if you mark this and each time you face a difficulty, you repeat it, it becomes irresistible. For instance, if you feel you're about to fall ill, if you feel you're doing something badly wrong what you're doing, it must be a spontaneity in the being. It must spring up from you without you needing to think about it. You choose your mantra because it is a spontaneous expression of your aspiration. It may be one word, two words, three words, or a sentence that depends on each one, but it must be a sound which awakens in you a certain condition. Then you have it. I assure you that you can pass through everything without difficulty, even in the face of a real, very veritable even in the face of a real danger, an attack, or for instance, someone wants to attack you, without getting excited, without being perturbed, you quietly repeat your mantra. One can do nothing to you. Naturally, you must be truly a master of yourself. One part of your being must not be trembling like a leaf. No, you must do it entirely, sincerely. Then it is all powerful. The best is when the word comes to you spontaneously, you call in a moment of a great difficulty, whatever it may be, mental, vital, physical, emotional, whatever. Suddenly suddenly that springs up in you like a magical word. You remember these and form the habit of repeating them in moments when difficulties come. If you form that habit, one day it will come to you spontaneously. Then you will see that the results are wonderful. But it must not be an artificial thing or something like arbitrarily you decide, I shall use those words, or somebody tells you to do so. You know, it is good, but perhaps not for everyone, says our Divine Mother.